Marvel Rivals is part of an emerging new genre I call baddie slop. Basically, people install it because they see a character they think is kinda bad, and before they know it, they are $300 deep in buying cosmetics for them. The game itself is pretty good. You get to play as iconic characters like the Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man, Captain America, and Luna Snow. Who is Luna Snow? I had to peruse her damn Wikipedia page to find out. Apparently she is a K-pop singer whose first appearance was in a Marvel gacha game. Just your bog standard industry plant superhero. She even has heterochromia. Now ordinarily I would completely check out at this point, but one, she is kinda bad. And second of all, she's actually quite fun to play. I love trying to heal my teammate that ran way too deep behind enemy lines. I love getting ripped for not healing them. I love losing the match because nobody defended the point. Of course, I could just accept that I too played my part in our loss, that my personal failings partially contributed to it. But that means taking responsibility, and as any seasoned Overwatch player knows, that's the one line you never cross. This game is made by Netease, which means they really locked in when it came to the microtransactions. The menus are so incredibly flashy. They even have these long cutscenes when you preview some skins. Like, we get it, man. You want us to pull out the money we set aside for Grandma's hip replacement surgery so we can make our virtual baddie badder. Marvel Rivals really makes you feel like the consumer as a product, which isn't that bad. You can look past it, because ultimately, Squirrel Girl is kinda bad. She has a very simple kit. She can shoot acorns, because her character has a whole squirrel theme. She can also throw a giant one, because her character has a whole squirrel theme. And on top of that, she can also summon squirrels, because her character has a whole squirrel theme. It's a simple kit and it's fun. But above all, she is kinda bad, and that's why you picked her. Personally, I did not pick her for such shallow reasons. I picked her because her character has a whole squirrel theme. We don't actually have squirrels where I am from. I've only seen them when I travel abroad to conduct business, because I am a very important businessman who conducts meetings and does business. I probably have a business card, so by playing Squirrel Girl, it felt like I was increasing my net worth by conducting business, and that's important. Representation matters. The maps in this game are okay, I guess. They have this whole destructible component that's like, whoa, battlefield, whoa, Levolution. And yeah, it's fun. However, mid-battle they can get reconstructed. Look at this baby shark. The wall got in his way. I am terrible at aiming, but the shark can't do anything to stop me. Some of the tank characters are walls. It has that whole tank, DPS and healer thing Overwatch has. It actually has a lot of stuff from Overwatch. Take Penny Parker for example. She looks like the diva of this game, right? Small, big mech, and looks really annoying. Wrong. Believe it or not, the diva of this game is actually Hulk. He has the whole thing where when he dies, he instead becomes a weaker version of himself with a pistol. Just like a diva, but only if she looked like that guy from work who has had a bit too many visits from HR. Hulk only has that part of Diva's kit, which is how it is for most of the characters in the game. There are lots of Overwatch abilities, but they are all spread out over the cast, so nobody maps one-to-one, which is fine, but it's interesting that it pulls so heavily from another baddie slop title. Another thing that it pulls from Overwatch is one of the launch problems. Yes, people will refuse to play anything but DPS. It is so incredibly soul-destroying seeing your entire team insta-lock DPS. You just know the next 10 to 30 minutes of your life are going to be bad. You accept it. You just play it out and predictably get completely destroyed. But here is the worst part. After that hell, you will then queue up for another match, and it will happen again. Fortunately, Marvel Rivals banishes you to daycare if you are terrible enough. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but if you lose a small amount of matches in a row, it will automatically queue you into a match against bots, and your team will effectively spawn trap them. The bots are that bad. Just don't dispel the illusion for your team. This game also isn't afraid to yassify its male characters. Take a look at Hawkeye. They Hanzoified him. Hawkeye isn't supposed to be that extra. He's just supposed to be some guy. He's supposed to look like a brother-in-law, if that makes any sense. On the other hand, they also aren't afraid to make them wide. Like, look at Thor and Wolverine. No way he can fit through a doorway. I mean, he's not going to hit his head, but his shoulders, man. He is not going to be able to sidle through a ruined archway and trigger a hidden loading screen anytime soon. The designs of this game have been compared to the Avengers, and it's insane how aura-less those designs were. I mean, look at them. They all look way too brother-in-law. You have to strike a middle ground between brother-in-law and yassified. The character with the most aura has to be Jeff the Land Shark. Of course, right off the bat, it's the game's dedicated kawaii character. You don't need to look it up to know there are already mountains of plushies and plenty of cute fan art. They even gave him his own game mode for the Christmas event. It's basically just Splatoon, but if it was painfully average. And naturally, you can unlock a fun free skin for Jeff, only if you complete a series of fun challenges that basically just exist to maximize your engagement time. This is where you remember it's a game as a service. Of course, you could just opt out and not play the mid-game mode and complete the mid-challenges, but then you won't get the kawaii skin for the kawaii shark. Which means you are not kawaii. There is nothing more important than being kawaii, so you reluctantly play it and become kawaii at a great cost to your mental health. So you play Iron Man to recover and have fun flying around and getting shot down over and over again because you suck. You suck at everything. Nothing has gone right for you. Jarvis, medicate my serotonin, dopamine, and noradrenaline levels. Jarvis, employ me. Jarvis, take me to the gym. Jarvis, organize a meet cute in the rain between me and my future wife. Jarvis, buy me a house with a white picket fence. Jarvis, pay my mortgage. Jarvis, get my kids into the good school. Jarvis, rebuild my life. But most of all, Jarvis, mute Lunar Snow. Brother, you are not Psy. At the start of each match, you get a random conversation between two characters on your team. I know, it's very Tumblr, it's very MCU, it is very Funko Pop. Despite that, it is also kind of fun. I mean, the lines themselves are fun, but the actual fun part is knowing that these lines are going to be embedded deeply in the psyche of all competitive players. They will wake in sweats from their nightmares where Lunar Snow talked about her K-pop career with future character Howard the Duck. During tournaments, you will simply need to quote Penny Parker's Watashi to instantly send them into an hour-long seizure that ultimately renders them comatose. Not to be too woke, but I always felt a bit weird about how these baddie slop games objectify women, and even men. Of course there is that whole source filmmaker thing, but it's also done in a way that isn't sexual, like the characters are explicitly designed for fan art and fan fiction. This is much more clear in Overwatch, but I find Marvel Rivals interesting because it does the same, but through using new designs for pre-existing well-known characters. All the characters are beautiful, handsome, or way too cute. There aren't any truly ugly characters in baddie slop games like this or Overwatch. And I know what you are thinking. Roadhog, he's not attractive at all, right? Well, for a certain subset of people, he actually is. I guess my point is that the baddie slop games don't treat the characters as characters, more as icons. They purely serve as this consumerist vessel to extract capital from the players, but more importantly, engagement. They want you to make fan art, write fan fiction, and complain about them on Twitter. They also won't stop you from booting up Source Filmmaker, because ultimately the time you spend outside of playing their game is still being spent playing their game. You are constantly thinking about their product, which is fine, you are having fun, but it just makes me feel weird because the characters are so transparently designed for this. It's not like games like Red Dead Redemption 2, Team Fortress 2, or even the single player mode of an old Call of Duty game. They all have vast casts of characters which are marketable, like baddie slop games, but there is also an artistic undercurrent to all the designs and stories, and they tie together to make something greater. You can actually see in the modern Call of Duty games how they have moved away from this. They shifted from telling surprisingly interesting stories to trying to cultivate some kind of cinematic universe. So they have a way of creating more recognizable characters that they can sell skins for. And to me, baddie slop games like Overwatch are kind of the patient zero for all of this artistic hollowness, where they basically create characters to exist as literal objects, rather than as characters that can explore ideas and themes. There isn't anything wrong with it, because these games are fun, the characters are fun, it's all fun, but it just feels weird to have human narratives abstracted in such a way to sell cosmetics, and to provoke further engagement with the product in your daily life. Marvel Rivals is a fun baddie slop game. It's hard to say if it is better than Overwatch, in the gameplay department or in the baddie department. However, I honestly don't feel like it is as much of a ripoff as you would expect. It does quite a few unique things, and I can definitely see it having legs, but at the end of the day, it already has legs. If you enjoyed this video, you should subscribe to my channel. It would look great on your resume.